All right, folks, we're back with Chuck Todd, the host of Meet the Press and the author of a brand new one, The Stranger, Barack Obama in the White House. The relationship between Barack Obama and Benjamin Netanyahu. Did Obama come in? I mean, Jesse Jackson said before the election in 2008 that if Obama wins, it's going to be a whole new landscape in the Middle East. Israel will not have the influence it once had. Does Obama dislike Israel? Does Obama have it ingrained in him from his acquaintances, his experiences, to be against Israel?
No. I think that's not the case at all. I think there is just a, I mean, I would look at it in terms of Obama's from Mars and Netanyahu's from Venus. It's more of a because the relationship between the countries is better than it is between the two men. I mean, if you were talking about that Israel didn't have influence, and if you thought that was the case with the president, then you wouldn't have the military-to-military relationship that has gotten tighter, if anything. Look at Iron Dome. So, no, I really think this is about a lack of chemistry between two men, Barack Obama, Bibi Netanyahu.
Jonathan Turley has decided to represent the House in their lawsuit against the president. What does that do to those on the left who might have thought that this was all frivolous nonsense and a waste of time?
Well, they still have to find their rationale. You know, they haven't decided how they're going to do this lawsuit. I do think that has hurt the credibility of this lawsuit because...
But they haven't filed it yet.
A, they haven't filed it, and B, they haven't said what they're going to file it on.
Right. Well, I think it's going to be healthcare and immigration.
But see, that's the point. If he is say what it is.
Yeah, well, they will eventually.
That it's not obvious. No, my point is, I hear you, and I think Turley gives credit. I'm not saying it doesn't give it credibility. I think what has hurt the initial credibility is say, we're going to sue the president.
Right.
On what?
Right. No.
Well, we're figuring that out.
No, I'd like to know too. Absolutely.
Right,
but Turley, who says he voted for Obama twice, but who's really blasted him.
He's been a big critic, particularly on the
constitutionality,
particularly the NSA stuff.
Yeah. So you think this helps the credibility?
It could help the credibility, but again, they have to figure out what they're suing him on.
Yeah. No,
I think it's sort of it is a weird. We're going to sue him.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, what?
Bias in the media.
Yes, sir.
Is there bias in the media on the left?
I think there is cultural bias, is what I always talk about. I think the bias stems from the fact that the news media is headquartered in New York City. And I've always thought the cultural bias on issues like religion, in particular a lot of social issues, where there is this feeling, middle America feels as if New York sort of imposes more its cultural values. I think that is what has created the perception then, therefore all media leans left. I think culturally, it's there. I don't think it's as pervasive as some believe it's on the right, but I think the cultural stuff is what makes it a credible attack.
But why did it take 9 days once the Gruber video came out? You talked about it on Meet the Press just the other day, but the networks, 9 days before they talked about it. And now it's a huge story.
I'm not saying it's not a story. Look, I'm not in charge of any of those network newscasts. But what is the news today of that? It's a political story. Network news in general hasn't been covering the political back and forth of Washington a lot lately. I don't think this has to do with Gruber specifically. I would just caution people on that.
When Alma Adams, running for Congress, was on stage and called Tillis and Uncle Tom, when the guy running against Nikki Haley said, take the whore out the door, if that had been a Republican, if either one of those had been Republicans, what would the difference in the coverage have been, do you believe?
I don't, I can't say that. I don't know for sure.
How would you have covered it differently?
I don't know for sure. If they're not well-known figures, I don't think I would have covered it in either direction. I didn't cover either of those stories because I don't think I would have covered it the other way. It's not, I mean, look, I think surrogates, when they're not known people, are not stories. I think this sort of, we have allowed social media in some ways, clickbait and all this stuff. I think we have this sort of, we've allowed politics come up to have too much faux anger. Faux grievances.
Michael Brown's, I'm rushing because we don't have much time. Michael Brown's mom, a suspect in an armed robbery. Is anybody talking about that in the media? If it was George Zimmerman's mother, or at the same time and place, in proximity to the case, how do you explain that?
I am not making these decisions on Ferguson. I think everybody looks at.
But is that not a bias?
Well, first of all, how you cover a story is bias. How I cover a story, you know why? We're human beings. We're all born with original bias. So I think to scream that every story is ideological bias really is stale to me.
Is Bush vindicated at all with these findings that chemical weapons have injured scores of troops in Iraq?
The implication was mushroom clouds. I don't think so.
I don't understand. When you mean he implied the implication
between the implication.
But we heard there were no
weapons of mass destruction was nuclear weapons. Come on.
So anything else other than
nobody
nuclear?
is saying, but is it? I don't think you're asking if
they found chemical weapons, is what I'm saying. That doesn't vindicate Bush.
I don't think it vindicates him.
No? Okay.
I don't.
Right. Fair enough. Thank you for coming.
my friend.
Thank you for being a good sport and answering the questions. I hope one day you'll come back.
I'll happy
All right.
to.
Before the paperback version.
Fair enough.
Okay, good enough.
Right.
Chuck Todd, ladies and gentlemen, moderator of Meet the Press, and I'm glad he was here. There it is, the stranger, Barack Obama in the White House. And when we come back, we'll be joined by Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Bret Stephens of the Wall Street Journal. Lots to talk about today with him and with others. Of course, the terrorist attack in Israel. We'll be covering that extensively, so don't go away. Right here on Newsmax Television.